everyone, SheProp is here, and this month for our panel, we are celebrating Asian American Pacific Islander Heritage Month. I'm very excited about it. I will not have much to contribute myself, but I am very much looking forward to talking to some incredible artists. They're going to talk about how cosplay is influenced by their heritage, their experience as an Asian American Pacific Islander cosplayer, and we're just going to hear a little bit about their stories, and I'm really looking forward to that. But first, we're going to hear a little bit about SheProp. SheProp is a growing community that is focused upon representing female, non-binary, two-spirit, and transgender cosplay artists. You can check out this and more SheProp panels on YouTube, or if you love podcasts, we have panels and other content you can listen to on the SheProp Talk podcast. If you want to join us, or if you're an ally and you want to show your support, search for SheProp and you'll find us on all the social medias.
Hi everyone, I'm Anna of Seattle Cosplay. My ethnicity and race is Han Chinese. And hello everyone, 大家好 and 大家好.
Hi everyone, my name is Moizi. I am first generation Filipino American in my family. Both my parents are immigrants from the Philippines, and I am 28 years old. I'm a cosplayer, and thank you so much for having me. Excited to be here.
Kemonacho Shabai, that means how are you everyone in Bengali. My name is Ray. I'm Raisin Cosplay. I'm a South Florida cosplayer, and I'm super happy to be here. And of course, my ethnicity is Bangladeshi.
Hi everyone, my name is Kate. I am Wintermute Cosplay on Instagram and Twitter. I'm actually Taiwanese Canadian, not American, but little difference. I'm very excited to be here talking about the AAPI issues related to cosplay. I am myself am a cosplayer and a maker, and I'm very excited to be here.
Hey everyone, my name is Monica, also known as Geeks A Go-Go. I am the community administrator, graphic design, and content editor of SheProp. I am also the CMO and CFO of Cartographer. I moved here from the Philippines at age 21. And to greet you with my mother's native language, Mayong Adlaw or Mayong Gabi sa inyong tanan.
Well, thank you all so much for joining me here today, and we get to talk a lot about your experience as Asian American Pacific Islander or Canadian cosplayers. I can't wait to hear more about your experience and how that affects your cosplay and how cosplay affects you. So let's get right into it. And to start, cosplay and media go together. They are very closely related because that's where we get a lot of our inspiration. So I do want to know how you see your individual culture represented in the media that we consume as cosplayers.
I feel that historically Asians, especially like Chinese, has been portrayed as like the dragon lady or something very mystical and not very approachable. I think that's not fair and is not realistic. And it also doesn't normalize like our presence in the country.
I just want to add on to what Anna's saying. Like Chinese Americans are basically lumped all in as one group, but there is actually a huge variety of people who came from different places of China. China is huge, and you're conflating Chinese, mainlander Chinese with Cantonese, with Taiwanese, and with people who live in Southeastern Asia that also speak Mandarin. And that is incredibly disrespectful, in my opinion, as a portrayal in media, because I am not I don't think like a mainlander. I am from Taiwan, and that is a very huge political thing for Taiwanese to be called a mainlander.
And Monica, you had something to add.
Sure. I actually got really excited when Disney started producing a lot more Filipino inspired art, shorts, and like the most recent one with Raya. It has been just so beautiful to see that type of representation come through in a lot of the characters that we now come to love, right? And the stories that we now come to love. Like growing up in the Philippines, like we've always we all grew up with Disney basically, and I can't really identify myself with any of the princesses because like, let's face it, they're like not the same color skin I am. Like, I know I'm a little bit more light skinned compared to a lot of Filipinos, but at the same time, like, I still have the dark hair, and like the culture all on itself. It's pretty exciting to see how all of this like start to come out now in media, and it just like makes me feel a little bit at home while I'm out here.
Does anybody else have something what they want to add about that?
Yeah, going off the whole Disney princess thing, Jasmine is like the only Disney character or princess we have for like all of the Middle East and all of South Asia. And I always see people fighting about it on social media because I feel like there's almost like a hierarchy of quote unquote ethnicities and races that Hollywood or video game companies will add in for diversity that are easy, and South Asians and Middle Easterners, I feel like, are not high up on that list. So I feel like it's almost non-existent representation for South Asians. I can't even think of a character off the top of my head that I think has been a proper representation of my culture or my origins.
And Marie, did you have anything else that you wanted to add?
Yeah, so like my position is like a little different because I was born and raised in New Jersey. Both my parents are immigrants from the Philippines, so I grew up in a very cultural household. But growing up, like going to school, like living in a predominantly like white neighborhood, I felt like my where I identified was like always not enough on both spectrums. So the representation in the media, I had a lot of difficulty finding like my place in that growing up, because I mean I grew up watching a lot of the same things that like my fellow classmates did, but like none of them really looked like me or like acted like me, or were from the same culture as me. But also at the same time, like seeing more representation of like Filipino culture, like Monica was saying, like I I don't know much about it, but I would love to learn more about my own culture. And seeing that in the big screen is just like so amazing, because then that kind of not only educates myself, but like everyone else that gets to see it alongside with me, like what my culture, what my parents grew up with, and seeing that like in mainstream media.
Now, Monica did mention some of the recent films, like Raya and Moana is another one. So we have seen some changes recently. Anna, can you talk about how it's gone in the last 10 years or so? What sort of arc you're seeing in
Yeah.
Asian stories?
I think that because I am really into apparel, really into costumes and like in TV shows and mass media, whenever I see like an Asian or Chinese American who's represented in non-traditional ways, like being the main character, being the hero and heroine of like an epic story that is not kung fu related, and seeing other Asian talents in the show, like just recently the Academy Award for the best director. When Joey Chow, won, I was really excited, and even starting from last year when Parasite won, it was such awakening for me to see there are other talents influencing not just in costume but in other aspects of making mass media.
I definitely think there is more awareness about the need for representation now than there was 5, 6, 10 years ago. Like, I don't think when I was a kid, I could have even imagined that there would be a Moana or a Raya, because all the princesses were white except for Jasmine. So I think that there's definitely, people are becoming really aware of different cultures, even not, and trying to get out of that hierarchy that I was talking about earlier.
Now, has that translated that in any way that you have experienced where that makes you feel pressure to also cosplay those characters? Kate, let's ask you that.
Well, it's like I've been talking about this for a little while, but it's almost like a double-edged sword. Like you want to be you want that representation in media, and because you have it, you feel compelled to cosplay those characters. But at the same time, if they're portrayed poorly or they really don't resonate with you, you don't understand the character well enough to want to do that, even though you kind of feel like you're forced to. And like, I have a pigeonhole problem with Mulan in Disney. Like, that's the only thing that isn't picked whenever, you know, people want to do a big group cosplay. And that is the one reason why people ask me to be in their group, is because, hey, you can play our Mulan. But yes, I love Mulan, but I also don't want to always do the same characters.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I feel like that's a huge problem. And some of it is because there's not enough representation, but also like I do feel very pressured into playing the Asian characters that I was given, because, you know, that's the only one that's available.
Does anybody else have an experience like that they'd like to share, or maybe a different experience?
I kind of have like, oh, sorry. Go ahead, Rai. Sorry.
Well, I was just going to say, I wouldn't say that I feel pressured, but I'm fortunate that I don't feel pressured, because I'm just somebody that doesn't care what other people think. I've definitely gotten those comments, like even from my own friends, like, oh yeah, your cosplay is great, but you would look so much better if you were cosplaying a character that looked like you. And I'll be like, okay, where are those characters that look like me? So when I do see a character that does look like me, I do think I'm more excited to cosplay that character and more excited to go into that media. But I wouldn't say that I feel pressured, but it does bring me joy and excitement to see characters that look like me that I can cosplay.
I think we're all drawn to characters that excite us and we connect to. And if they happen to look like you, great. And if they don't, then that's fine too. I had a shaved head when Stranger Things came out. So everybody was telling me to cosplay as 11. And that's just a haircut. I could change my hair. And so I can't imagine what that's like for someone who they're talking about something you can't change and pigeonholing you in that way. Monica, was there something else you wanted to contribute to that?
Yes, I actually I cosplay for a lot of like tabletop gaming and board game companies, and I had a conversation at one point with a company I was trying to work with, and I wanted to cosplay one of the characters that they have on their game, but I kept getting pushed into cosplaying the Asian character. And the reason why I declined is because the character had more of a Chinese like background, and I don't feel like I'm the right person for that. Like, you know, like we're all like saying like, you know, if you're not comfortable, and if I don't identify as Chinese because I'm not, you know, it's like I don't think I'm the right I'm the right person to cosplay that character. But since I identify as Asian, I just kind of like, I think this is the character that's perfect for you. Well, and you know, in reality, it's like, you know what, you have 3 other characters that I'd be glad to cosplay, even the male ones. Like I'd be happy to do that. but yeah, like it just all boils down to also like another thing that's been going on right now. It's really important that companies hire a consultant, a cultural consultant, and that plays a huge part of creating new worlds. Like even if you're creating a more generic, or as you think it's generic as you can make it, you can still be mindful about creating like races within that world.
Does anybody else have something they want to add to that conversation before we move on?
Yeah, I do. So I'm definitely more drawn to cosplaying characters that have a similar skin tone as me. Before Moana and Raya came out, even like just not Disney in general, like other like comic book characters, like I would kind of be like left with characters that are either like Black or Spanish or something that's not me, that's not, you know, Filipino. And like although like I don't mind, like I would love to cosplay anybody I really want to, I want to see more of somebody that looks like me. So I was like super excited when Raya came out, and like I just did a Raya cosplay shoot like not even an hour ago. So that was like it was just like amazing because I was like totally in my element. Like I didn't even have to, like I barely wore any makeup because like this is who I am. This is what I look like, and it was just like super natural for me to be able to portray that character and like still be myself in a way. And like not to say that it's not okay for like a Filipino cosplayer to cosplay a Black or Spanish or vice versa, but I also it's just like when those characters like when the representation comes out, like I don't want it to be like I'm just limited to just cosplaying who my culture is. Like I guess kind of piggybacking what Kate is saying, like I don't feel like I should be pressured into just cosplaying somebody who's only my culture. I think it should be like both ways. Like we should all be able to cosplay whoever we want to and have those options to do so that we're not just limited to just one or the other.
Now, how do you incorporate your culture into your cosplay, particularly through design? I think that would be a really interesting thing to do. I mean, I'm not in your shoes, but I would think it would be really fun to reinterpret characters with cultural aesthetics. Anna, let's talk to you. You mentioned wanting to go into the design element. I know that's a big part of your career as well.
Yeah, it definitely is. So I think that growing up, I'm, very familiar with the culture. Obviously, that is our background. And so when I'm designing or when I am, for example, when I was making the pattern for McCall to submit as one of their cosplay patterns, I have free reign of doing whatever I want. But it was very important to me that my culture is represented, that my background and the styling of that Asian, sorry, I shouldn't say Asian, I should say specifically Chinese cultures are represented. So I incorporated a tons of like bandings, a lot of frog buttons, or a lot of like Mandarin collars, lots of binding. I love binding. So things like that, I feel are very much an essence of what a recognizable Asian influence would be for design. So I try to incorporate that into my design to influence others as well as for myself. I'm researching to make a qipao, which is cheongsam. So like that, it has a very specific cut. It has a very specific collar and the neck treatments and all of that. So doing a lot of research into that too.
And Ray, what about you?
Yeah, I have a really good anecdote for this. I recently started a Kyoshi warrior cosplay from the Avatar universe. Ooh. And the Kyoshi warriors have this skirt, and they have, I mean, obviously it's like 2D, it's cartoon, so it's kind of hard to interpret the costume elements, but they have these pleats down the front that start from one origin, and there's like 3 pleats that fan out from it. And I was like, that's not how normal pleats work. How am I supposed to do this? And at the time, I was thinking about ways to incorporate Indian and Bengali tailoring techniques into the costume so I can avoid some elements of cultural appropriation. And sari pleats actually stack on top of each other in the front, and they have that exact same effect. So normal pleats are next to each other. You just pleat a long length of fabric, but sari pleats, you stack them in front, and they had that exact same like appearance as the Kyoshi warrior skirt. I was so excited. It was like a hallelujah moment for me. It was like the coolest thing. So I really enjoy incorporating those tailoring techniques, especially because I was actually born in Bangladesh. So I grew up seeing how these clothes are made, and it's a lot of fun for me to incorporate them.
I think that's so cool. You did mention that when we were planning what we were going to talk today. So were there any other tailoring techniques or sewing skills that your culture has brought to you that you think other people should be aware of, where we're missing out on what we could do with cosplay for not knowing these things?
Yeah, so my weight fluctuates a lot. And one of the biggest things that Indian tailors do is they will leave a significant amount of seam allowance in their clothes, like inch to 2 inch. And sometimes I can add bulk, but that's a life hack I've been using to take in and bring out my clothes and costumes whenever I need. Highly recommend, especially for bottoms. If you like leave a lot of seam allowance, you can always have room to adjust, that piece of clothing. So that's a big tip that I would recommend.
Noted.
Sorry.
Write that down. No, go ahead.
I think that like if you look at a lot of like hanfu, they also have like the overlap in the front that could be very adjustable as well. So depends on if your what's your size changes, or if you want to style it differently. Oh, you see my corgi there. It's definitely something that can also be incorporated and adjust and tailor to to fit your friend, that you can just do that, to have the open front overlap treatment and just tie on the waist.
Marie, what did you want to add?
Yeah.
Well, I don't want to give too much away, but like Monica and I are like secretly collaborating on this like huge project that we're planning. That
Sneak peek.
pretty much, yeah. How do I say that?
I'm watching her to be like,
No, it's fine. It's fine.
And we're very careful about like not revealing too much, but like pretty much, long story short, we're planning on incorporating our Filipino culture into a cosplay, and we've got a lot of heavy hitters in this group, and I'm like so excited that it's going to be like it's massive, and we're all in this like group, and we're giving each other tips and tricks on like how to do certain things that are very prominent in like Filipiniana attire, and it's just like an awesome learning experience because a lot of us are not used to doing something like that. But like myself, I haven't really sewn anything like a turno, for example, is like a Filipiniana sleeve that's like very
the butterfly.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like this.
I've never made one either, so I'm learning with you. So
right. And I'm excited. Like this is going to be great because just the fact that it's a bunch of us and we're giving each other so many resources and like just like learning how to do it together, and then the end result is just going to be like poof. So hope I didn't get too much away.
Nope, you did absolutely fine. Like she was saying, like Moizi was saying, like I think this is probably the biggest online collaboration or cosplay collaboration I've ever done. Like in the last 7-8 years I've been cosplaying. But yeah, it's a massive group, and just watch out for that. We're very excited to incorporate our culture, our Filipino culture, in like a popular media of sort. That's all I can say.
I am very intrigued.
You will see. But like to add on to the whole like incorporating culture on cosplay, like recently before the release or during the release of Raya, I had another collaboration with Canvas Cosplay and a few other Asians in the cosplay community, and we pretty much kind of like picked out tribes from the Raya universe or the Raya world, and we pretty much built our own kind of like version of our South or Southeast Asian characters in the movie. So the way how I incorporated my kind of like made up character for the Talon tribe, which is I'm sorry, not Talon tribe. What tribe am I in? Whatever tribe that I was in for Raya, which I forgot now for some weird reason. But I liked incorporating my malong, which is like this Filipino fabric that you wrap around, and you can turn it into a skirt, and you can convert it into a pair of pants if you wanted to. So I incorporated that on my cosplay. I also incorporated kind of like some sort of like weaving effect on my props. So my dagger had some weaving effect that's very reminiscent of weaving that's very common in Filipino culture as well, because we have a lot of like woven arts like that's been popular even out here in America. Like you see all the bags and they're made in the Philippines when they're all woven up. So that was a really fun project to do because it took a lot of applying my culture and kind of just representing it on that made up character that I did.
Are you, or is anyone seeing trends currently in the cosplay community or with what cosplayers are doing that reflect on your culture, whether it's cultural fashions or, garb, whether it's good or bad? Are you seeing those things become popular or have been popular?
I'm seeing a lot of people interested in hanfu in the last little while. I think because all the Asian TV shows that eventually got translated through various streaming medias, and people are like, "Ooh, I want to cosplay those." So, but I haven't really seen good sources in North America, at least for hanfu. Like, you really have to go to Asia to get those.
Is anybody else seeing either an increase in trends or something that's on its way out?
I think there's like a balance that you have to kind of be aware of between cosplaying a character and also cultural appropriation. Like how do you cosplay a character whose costume is entirely traditional, for example, without cultural appropriation? I think that, I don't know if I would call it a trend, but I do think cosplayers are thinking more about that and thinking about like, okay, well, maybe I should not, cosplay this traditional character. Maybe, there are always other characters. And so I think that, there's like also a huge boom in anime since the pandemic, especially, people were sitting at home watching a ton of anime. So I do think there's like a huge boom in people wanting to cosplay East Asian characters. But I also think that people are just becoming more aware of, should I wear this? Should I cosplay it? Should I leave that to the people who are from that culture?
Does anybody have a thought about people cosplaying characters that don't match their culture that they want to share today?
Yeah, I would love to share that because being Chinese, like right now, my current passion is making a lot of historic costuming. And so it's not all Asian culture, Chinese culture. Like I am also very interested in like making 18th century robes. Like, so, in that time in Europe, there's hardly any Asian culture. So anything I made from that and while wearing it, I would look like, I don't make my makeup more white. And so I will always look like a Chinese person. So I feel that when other people are wearing the Chinese costumes, like hanfu, what Kate was saying, because of the show they watch, I think it's fine. But there is also a fine line, just like what Ray is saying, that cultural appropriation. So the good thing is, while more people are doing it, the conversation and the communication is coming up of what is considered the definition of it so that people don't go that way. And I think that's a fantastic thing.
That does actually transition really nicely into something that needs to be addressed today, which is current events and what our what the Asian community is experiencing, particularly in America, with Asian hate on the rise. I know it's a little weird with it being in a pandemic, but how has in your experience, the cosplay community reacted to that? I mean, it's hard when you don't go to cons and you can't actually see anybody in person.
Yeah,
I get that.
I feel like, honestly, like I would love more conversations about AAPI community in the cosplay community. I feel like I get that we're all like really great cosplayers and we like to be chameleons and all that, but sometimes, it would be nice to have kind of like a voice and be able to have a discussion with the rest of the community about what we're going through. I know there were only a few people. I don't I identify as an Asian, but a lot of people actually like have a really hard time like kind of like connecting the dots when all of this was happening. But I am glad that some of my friends have actually reached out to me, like when when all of this is happening, and it does give us a lot of anxiety, like no matter what, even if we're always inside or in a pandemic, it's something that we still get anxious about. I kind of like plan my trips with my husband just so that I know that I'm kind of like safe when I'm out there. So it's a weird time to be in, you know. It's yeah. So it'd be nice to have more education, more conversations for sure.
Does anybody else have something they want to add to that?
Yeah, like I've taken a hiatus on Instagram sort of in during the pandemic because I with work stress and everything, I just couldn't think about making anything. Even then, like there's still lots of friends who like reached out and, you know, asked to make sure that we're okay. And that is a really nice thing to have, like with a community. Like I think a lot of people are aware of the issues that are currently going on in the world, especially in the States. But like I have been yelled at by my brother's neighbors because we're out fixing something in my car, and like, you know, there's this lady that across the street that's just started yelling at us. And but like it's really nice to hear from people that are thinking about us and thinking about how like what we're doing and how we're doing.
Mm-hmm.
Has people's reactions online or on your social media posts changed, or have you seen anything like that that has been happening lately?
I don't think it's my place to talk about it as much because I do feel like the recent hate has been more targeted to East and Central Asian people. But I immigrated here right after 9/11. My family is Muslim, but basically anybody that looked like could be Muslim was targeted at the time. So I get it, and I just want the community to know that like I and my friends and other South Asians and other minorities are here for you guys. And I hope that the support I've shown in social media has touched some of you. I get it. I don't know. Maybe that doesn't help at all, but
What do you want non AAPI people to know, or what do you want us to do to be able to support you better beyond reaching out to the individuals that we know? Is there anything else that you think we should be taking up the mantle on?
Honestly, with everything, like do the same thing that you would do with our Black friends, do the same thing that you would do with our queer friends, and do anything that makes you the better person, and say and intervene if you are able to when somebody is just saying something disrespectful or mean or degrading to an Asian person. Like that is what I think that is just the thing that really should happen more often, regardless of whether you're in a cosplay community or not.
I would really just like people to stop making assumptions about people when they look at you. You know, like stop assuming that I come from somewhere or that I, you know, subscribe to a certain value. I think that's like the bare minimum, but I think that if we just take a step back and say, okay, maybe I'm assuming something about this person, just don't bring it up. Just don't assume that they are of any ethnicity or religion that you think, even if they look that way. I think that's something really, really, a really big important step that just everybody, not just non-Asian people, but everybody can take to just become kinder and more aware of people's feelings.
Okay, so to lighten things up a little bit, we are recording this at a time when we are starting to see some improvements and starting to see some hope for being able to interact with our friends again and meet in public again. So is there anything that you are really looking forward to when that is actually a reality for you? Monica, let's go with you. You did tell us a little bit about your big project, but is there something you can give us more details on?
Well, aside from the big projects, I love advocating for diversity in our community because every little bit really helps out a lot. So I'm just looking forward to going to either online or in-person conventions that I already have lined up this year it has been crazy, like ever since, like there's a chance that everyone's going to get vaccinated and everyone's like a little bit more confident on opening up and starting their conventions or proceeding with it this year. I am looking forward to keep advocating for that, inviting people who are in the diversity in those panels with me, because we all need that voice. We all need it to continue educating everybody in our community about diversity and the importance of it. Whether it's in media, on whatever art you create, cosplay, and even like when you create games. So I think that's an important thing, and I'm so excited to show everybody.
And Anna, how about you?
The same thing. I am really looking forward and getting out there to be with my friends, to check out their costumes, talk shop. But I'm also really thinking that it's a rebirth of our culture as we go back out there with a new perspective, with new respect for how we are without other people when we are alone. So I'm sure we will have a lot of social gatherings and things like that. So everybody who's watching this, if you can, please go vaccinate so that we could have that opportunity to go back.
And Marie, what about you?
I'm just looking forward for things to really slow down at work. I mean, I don't know if I mentioned before, but I'm a registered nurse. I work in the ICU on a COVID ICU unit. Knock on wood, like we have been seeing things improving. But I work in a field where like literally anything can happen. So I'm just ready to just like slow down a little bit. I mean, it's great that everyone's getting vaccinated, but then I also think that people should remain vigilant in protecting themselves no matter what. Also, like, I know everyone wants to return to a sense of normalcy, but I want everyone to also keep in mind, like, I don't want to regress and go back to what we were before, the same like mindsets we were before, like the fact that we were in this pandemic staying indoors and we had a lot of time to reflect on our thoughts and like ourselves, and there's just so much that happened in the past like year and a half that like moving forward, once we are able to go out there and do things again, just like move forward with that thinking in mind that you can make positive change, you can continue to be how you were before, but like with more in advance. I don't know how to explain it, but just like being able to do more with yourself, like I guess, and just go back to cons, seeing my friends again.
Well, for me, I'm also a registered nurse. I work in the emergency room, and I'm looking forward to there being less people in my emergency room and less people coming in super sick. But I also am very, very much looking forward to going fabric shopping again. I cannot shop for fabric online. It is absolutely the most terrible thing ever. And I want to be able to just touch things again. And yeah, and of course, going out and hanging out with friends at cons. Like I've had multiple friends that moved out of the city because it's become unaffordable, and I miss them dearly. And I want to see them again. And the only time I see them is at cons. So I really, really, really want to go back to cons.
Well, I want to say thank you first to Marie and Kate for your frontline work. But I guess, yeah, mine is pretty surface level. I'm just excited to go back to Dragon Con. I'm fully vaccinated now. That I'm planning on making that my first con. I'm so excited. I go every year. I'm so excited to go back. I just need that feeling again.
I'm the most excited during the pandemic. I've done a bunch of these panels and I've met so many people from all over the world, and I want to meet them in person. Monica, you're one of them. We've been working together for a year now on these.
That's right.
I want to meet you in person. I think that would just be the best. And Monica is just one of many that I would like to actually be able to meet people that I really truly call my friends now. And it's now visible on the horizon. We're going to be able to do it.
Yep. Likewise, Abby. Likewise.
So thank you all so much for joining me today and for talking about your experience and sharing that with us. And thank you for being a part of this SheProp panel. Please go around one more time and tell us who you are, where we can find you, and if you have any resources on where we can do more work to educate ourselves on AAPI issues.
Hi, everyone. My name is Monica, also known as Geeks A Go-Go. You can find me at Geeks A Go-Go on all social media platforms. You can also find me in SheProp if that's something that you're more comfortable contacting me in. And also our startup company called Cartographer. You can also find me at cartographer-AR. For AAPI Heritage Month, please consider donating to the following organizations. There's aacap.org and I'mReadyMovement.org. Please consider donating to those organizations. They do a lot of help with our AAPI community.
Again, my name is Ray from Raisin Cosplay. I primarily use Instagram. You can definitely find me all over Instagram. I share a lot of works in progress photos, lots of free patterns, tutorials, all that kind of good stuff. And I'm super excited to be a part of the SheProp Asian community. And all I ask is that for anyone watching, go out of your way to look up and follow a few more Asian cosplayers today.
Again, I'm Anna on Instagram. My handle is Seattle_cosplay. I'm really happy to be here. Thanks for including me. The charity that I would like you, if possible, to donate to is Asian American Legal Defense Fund, an educational fund. The website is aaldef.org. And thank you so much. I'm so excited to be part of this.
I'm Kate again, and I am Winter New Cosplay, and I'm mostly on Twitter and Instagram at I am Wintermute. And there's also this organization that I found out through a couple of Asian entertainers, mostly Chloe Bennett, who I cosplay her character Daisy Johnson from Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. She's involved with this organization. There's an organization called Run AAPI, and it's runaapi.org. And they're very good with social media education of AAPI related issues, and they've been doing a lot of outreach as well.
And I am Marie, aka Maweezy. You can find me primarily on Instagram, Maweezy, Maweezy. You can also find me on TikTok, maweezy.rn. And I just want to say thank you so much for having me. Like, all you guys are so super talented. It's always an honor to be like surrounded by so much talent. Like, it's really great. And I just want to say continue to support your Asian cosplayers, your Asian friends. Go show them some love. Continue to support our Black brothers and sisters. And I also just want to say support Palestinians out there because they're really going through it. And I just want to put that out there. And thank you so much for having me. And hope we get to meet each other soon and hug and just hug each other.
And I'm Abby of Abby Cat Cosplay. You can find me on Instagram and Facebook at Abby Cat Cosplay. And thank you all so much for joining us. And thank you, audience, for listening to this panel. All of the organizations that our panelists mentioned today, you will find links in the notes for the show so you can follow those, donate, and educate yourself more about what those organizations do and what kind of services they provide. And thank you for engaging in AAPI content and issues. You can find all of us in the SheProp community. We are welcoming to trans, non-binary, two-spirit, and female cosplayers, artists, makers, and we would be very happy to have you. If you are an ally, check out our page because we share some really incredible art. Thank you all so much one more time.
Bye. Thank you. Bye.